Ho, 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 yeah! Here we go! Welcome to the Dynasty Hot Sauce Podcast. I'm Larry Monkey, and on Twitter, FF Larry Monkey. That's right. Social media, baby. Blue Sky, Instagram, and then the man with the gigantic roll of toilet paper in the background. Yes, there it is. Can't see that deer head tonight, but he's at Run DFF. Justin Rogers, what's up, my man?
For a second when you said ho ho ho, I was like, wait a second. Is Santa on the show with us tonight? What's going on here? We can't see the deer head because you cover it up with our logo. What the hell, man?
I don't know, man.
I'm gonna get the other one on the other side. It'll be done in the fall. We'll have two, so there will always be a deer in the picture at some point.
You cannot see the logo. When it's just us, you can see the logo. But when we have a guest, you cannot see the deer head.
Right. Yeah.
What is this?
That's why I got to get the other one on the wall. So when the taxidermist is done with it. And you know what? Eventually, there's going to be an impala and a blessed buck, and maybe a warthog too. So we might have to set up a whole wall of animals behind the couch or something. I don't know.
You know what? I'd love to touch on this Africa trip, but we have we got somebody waiting to. I can't wait to pick this guy's brain. What do you think?
Me too. You know what? In life, I need a lot of things, but in football, we need a coach.
Yeah, you're right. There's nothing better than a coach, and when you talk about dynasty and coaches, I don't know. I guess there's one. There's one starts with the letter A too, right? Starts at the top of the alphabet there. Hey, he's the coach. He's the coach. He's the host. He's the devotional podcast guy at Dynasty Coach A. What's up, my man? It's I don't know, Johnny. What should we call you, man? What does everybody call you?
John Arrington, Coach. A lot of people call me Coach. I don't know. It's a stupid name I came up with when I first started getting into Twitter. I originally had I had one dynasty team at the time, and I just had my one dynasty team as my name, and it was Full Chubb, and that was my name. And then as I started helping people and stuff, I'm like, I should probably change my name. And I was coaching my son's football team, and so I was Coach A, and then I started. I'm like, well, what can my name be? And I'm like, I'm not that smart, but I'm like, hey, Dynasty Coach A. I guess that's my name. So here we are.
Once you get a handle that is semi-recognizable, you can't switch it.
Right.
Once you get established with it, it's like, all right, I'm always going to be Run DFF. It doesn't matter. Larry will always be Larry Monkey because, well, no one. If he was anything else, it would just be catfishing. Because at least with Larry Monkey, we know that the offers are going to be shitty, and the trash talk is going to be subpar. So,
but that's what makes it fun, right?
I'm telling you. So I mean, I feel like Full Chubb would be a much that's a robust thing. I mean, at least you had Full Chubb. It wasn't half Chubb. You could have been Full Chubb here.
Well, it was Full Chubb that year because I won the championship with Nick Chubb, and then he got hurt the first time, and the first major injury he had, I forget what it was exactly, but then it was broken Chubb for a little bit, and then it was sad Chubb, and then I think it was rehab Chubb. I don't remember. We went through a lot of different names.
Evolution there, man.
We're pretty close to no Chubb.
Oh yeah. It's retired Chubb at this point.
Yeah, there you go. Then you would be the only Chubb at that point. But I mean, so the Debbie Devotional, how'd you get that going? Because that show's been around for a very long time. So it's been around as long as this Hot Sauce Pod. I looked out.
Yeah, we've been around for a while now. We used to go whenever we could record. It would literally be we'd go 2 months sometimes without recording. Now we go strict once a week, every week. So we've definitely gotten better about doing it, and we've also seen the numbers rise because of that. Of course, people love consistency, but the funny thing is, I had nothing to do with Debbie. I didn't watch college football. I didn't pay attention to college or Debbie players or anything like that. I wasn't in any Debbie leagues, but I love talking football. And I had two guys in these leagues that I'd met, in some dynasty leagues that I met that loved Devy and young, youth and college football players and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, man, I'll host, because neither one of them wanted to host. I'm like, I'll host and I'll just sit here and talk. And like, as a dynasty player, I guess at least I can ask you questions about it. And then you guys can answer, and from like a dynasty lens, I can try to ask the right questions and do whatever. And I feel like I did a pretty good job of doing that. But along the way, I've come to, I've created models, I've created things that now I can actually sit here and talk about the players as well. But, that's what, 6-7 years in. So, it took a while to get there. But originally I was just sitting there asking questions like, I have no idea who these guys are. And now I'm like, no, I know who these players are.
Nice, man. So getting into just the rookies and dynasty and Devy, like where's your heart? Where do you hang your hat these days? I mean, is it all like campus to Canton stuff, or what's your what floats your boat, or as we like to say on the show, what's your fantasy?
So I mean I do a little bit of everything. I'm in. You have a question about how many leagues I'm in. I don't know if you want me to answer that already or whatever. I know you said kind of just go with the flow. I'm in roughly 30 dynasty leagues, and obviously kind of comes and goes or whatever. But for the most part, I do that. I'm in 4 C2C leagues, and I'm in I think 4 Devy leagues as well. So I have a little bit of everything, but Dynasty is definitely my thing. That's what I love. And my big thing is I do themed Dynasty leagues. So every year I come up with a new theme of, sometimes it's, a lot of times it's like Marvel movies and things like that. Or right. I have a Lord of the Rings themed league. I have a Harry Potter themed league. I have, actually I just finished the bylaws for one. I'm getting ready to do probably my only startup of the off season. Not trying to do too many startups, but it's fun to do one every once in a while. And I just finished the bylaws for a Fantastic Four themed league. And so it's going to be an Empire League. And basically you have to work together to stop Galactus from, I don't know if you've watched the movie, but Galactus is the bad guy. You have to stop Galactus from eating Earth or destroying Earth. And so essentially, however well everyone does to stop it is how long the league lasts. So the league could last as few as 3 years, or I guess technically up to probably 8 or 9. But it would probably be closer to 3, 4, maybe 5 years, something like that, before it would completely reset.
You commission these yourself?
Yeah, I do. I commission them because I have funky scoring settings and things. I've kind of perfected the way that I like it at the very least. I mean, not everyone agrees with it, but I hate when a running back gets a point because Alvin Kamara caught a ball at the 1 yard line and then got tackled and he gets 1.1 points. I hate that. So I have it to where it's tiered PPR. And it's tiered PPR based on your how far from the line of scrimmage you are. So if you catch a ball at the line of scrimmage, you get 0 extra points. But if you catch a ball and you go 10 yards, now you get a point or whatever it is. It goes into tiers, so it kind of grows from there. But I basically want you to do something and actually earn your points, not just be like, oh, I caught a ball and fell down, give me a point.
Nice.
Well, that's fair. That's fair. So how many leagues are you commissioning right now?
I commission 7.
Wow.
So is this going to be the 8th league, or are you counting down your 7? Still, it's long.
No, this would be the 8th. I haven't even started recruiting people for it, so I'm not counting it yet. And it's a lot, especially because all of my leagues have bonuses. So the Harry Potter league. I don't know how nerdy you guys get, but if you know all of the Harry Potter lore and all that kind of stuff, but you get you have the 3 the 3 bonuses, the Elder Wand, the what is it, the cloak, the invisibility cloak, and there's in the third one, I forget what it is, but essentially you get a bonus for all those, and you can use them at any time during the regular season. So one of them is you get to add, we start 12 players. You get to add a 13th starter that week. So you just add an extra starter. Another one is you just get an extra 10 points that week. And then the third one is you set 3 players as, like you say, these are my, it's the Sorcerer's Stone. That's what it is. And you set 3 players. And you say, these are my stone players. And then whoever scores the most points out of those 3 players that you set replaces your lowest scoring flex for that week. So obviously, like, all those bonuses and boosts and things like that, like that takes time and effort from me as the commish. So like I love my leagues, but man, I'll tell you, in the middle of the season, sometimes I'm sitting there cursing everyone. You know,
how many
with that?
Yeah. Forget about leagues. How many kids you got?
Yeah, I have 2 kids as well. Luckily, they're getting to the point where they can, they're a little older. They can kind of fend for themselves. You know, I used to have to like work around, bedtimes and stuff like that. I don't have to do all that anymore. Thank God.
Wow, yeah, that's where me and Justin are right now.
Yeah,
but man, I mean, I was going to say, my other question was how much time do you spend in the bathroom? Because that's that's my move pretty much, man. I just go in there, and that's when I got to take care of the uninterrupted, like, lineup setting.
Larry went to Home Depot and got a special cushion seat just for.
Oh yeah, so his legs wouldn't go to sleep.
Yeah, man.
No, I made a promise to my wife a long time ago. I'm like, look, football's my thing and everything, but I will never watch another sport, and I don't. And I've made true to that promise. I don't watch other sports. I don't care about March Madness. If you talk about some like big baseball player, I probably won't know his name. I just don't care. I was on Dynasty Game Night a couple of years back, and they did like a name game, and they went through all these baseball players, and I'm like, yeah, sorry guys, that ain't my thing.
Sweet. So you've been looking at these. So I guess you've been looking at these rookies for a couple of years now.
Oh yeah,
I would assume. How has the trajectory changed from like even last year? Because some of these guys, it's like it always been.
It's shitty.
2026 draft. Has it ebbed and flowed? Like, this is going to be a good class. This class is going to blow. Like, what has it been like as it from looking at it through the Devi lens from when it started? Like looking at 2026 class.
Yeah, the 26 class was always kind of weird. I think we originally thought the QBs were going to be pretty good. Like years ago, 3-4 years ago, we were, thinking, okay, this is actually be a good class. We had a lot of players, like, there's a player named Connor Wegman who's not coming out. He's still playing football. He actually had to transfer down because like we were excited about him at one point, but he dealt with a lot of injuries and then he had to transfer down. I guess there's still a small chance he could come out next year or something, but, the chance of him being good are probably pretty slim. Even like Cade Klubnik is in this class, and I never really thought that he was going to be anything amazing, but his junior season kind of led us to believe that he was at least going to be okay. Maybe like a viable backup level or like really low end starter or something like that.
He's a quarterback,
and then the senior,
right?
Yeah, and then senior season just completely fell off the face of the planet. It's like, no, okay, never mind. Drew Lar, every year people were like, all right, Drew Lar is going to be the guy. He's going to take a step forward. He has the best arm in the class and all that. Never. It just never happened. So I think we thought that, it was the QBs were going to be there. And then obviously that didn't happen. Arch Manning decided he was staying until the 27 class, which they basically said that from the start. So it wasn't that much of a shock. But I think it was the running backs, because there was actually a couple running backs in the class that I was pretty excited about. There's a player named Hollywood Smothers. He decided to stay. A player named Justice Haynes. He decided to stay in school. And there was a couple other players. Even Mark Fletcher, who was on Miami for in the national championship game, and he looked great. I don't understand why he didn't come out in this class. I don't know, because now he's going to be a senior, and he's going to be, probably, I don't know. He's probably not going to be looked at the same way, and he's probably going to be a player that gets hurt more than anything else when he comes out this next year, when he could have probably been the second or third or fourth running back in this class at the very least. So
right.
I think it was more.
Yeah, he'll be a year older and in a much deeper class of running backs.
Right, exactly. So I think it was more like a lot of players that ended up staying in school hurt this class more than like just being a bad class in general. There's a wide receiver named Jace Brown that I loved. Eric Singleton Jr. Should have come out. He didn't. So there's quite a few. Deuce Robinson out of FSU could have come out, probably should have come out, and he didn't. So this class could have been really good, but now we're looking at the 27 class and saying like, well, A, the 27 class is going to be better, but B, why didn't those guys come out? Maybe there's something that we're going to learn later on, like injury or whatever else. So the NIL era and everything has kind of changed everything, but basically it leads to the 26 class definitely taking a hit.
So what? Man, I'd like to get into some of these rookies, and maybe you can find us a diamond in the rough. But how does your first round kind of look right now? How do you want to attack this, Justin? What do you think, man? What do you think?
Well, so we kind of established that there's a tier of 6. So we play Superflex tight end premium. And so Sadiq is in there, Mendoza is in there. Obviously, the wide receivers. And I don't even know. Like Tyson's taking a hit, man. But,
I'd love to hear how the wide receivers shake out for Johnny.
John.
What do you think, man?
Yeah. So I love the wide receivers. That's obviously like the depth or the best part of this class for sure. I know like Justin was just saying, like Tyson's definitely taking a hit because people are concerned that he retweaked his hamstring and everything. I guess I completely get the concerns. Obviously, no one ever wants to hear about a wide receiver having a hamstring injury, but I really think all along it's been like just make sure that he's healthy by this start of the season, and he did enough in college. Like I honestly, if it wasn't even for the injury, and if he had just not done anything, everyone else would have been like, oh yeah, he did enough in college, like we don't need to see it. But because of the hamstring injury in the junior season, now it's become an issue for people. He had injuries throughout his career, but they were all different. He tore his ACL his freshman season after completely blowing up at Colorado. Then he has a broken collarbone, and then he has a hamstring injury. Like those aren't related, So like I'm not overly concerned about the injuries. Tyson is by far my wide receiver 1. He's my only tier 1 wide receiver. And I know a lot of people kind of clump the top 3 into one. And I'm not saying that they're that far behind, but the way I look at it is Jordan Tyson is like the only guy that could be a Malik Neighbors or a J. Jeff or someone like that. I don't see that with Tate, Lemon, or any of the others. So I definitely, I'm prioritizing Tyson. Yes, I guess there is a slight concern with the injuries and stuff, but I'm not going crazy, worrying about all that.
Yeah, I only meant from the NFL perspective. Like he maybe not a top 15 pick, maybe he drops into the second half of the first round. I don't know, but I think as far as dynasty goes, he still belongs in that the 3 wide receivers, like you just mentioned. Tate and Lemon. I think it's them and them Love. So beyond those 6, is that how you have it? Do you have those 3, Tyson, Tate, and Lemon? Are those your top wide receivers?
Yeah.
So beyond like those 6 players with Sadiq and Love and Mendoza lumped with those, is there anyone else that's close to that group, or do you have a tier break like we have seen and we've talked about?
So I'm actually the biggest Sadiq, hater. I don't hate anyone, but I guess that's what you would have to call it because everyone's just kind of crowned him from the start as the king. But if you look at his production, his college production, he wasn't even the best tight end on his own team last year, much less of all of college. Jamari Johnson was also a junior. And he actually outproduced Sadiq, especially in like later in the season, and going into the playoffs and all that kind of stuff. That was another thing I didn't really love about Sadiq was if you actually see, he did pretty well like earlier in the season against like lesser competition. He has some pretty big games. When you start getting into the playoffs or the Big Ten competition there, he has a lot of like 15-yard games, 20-yard games, and stuff like that, and not much going on. He had a very low ADOT, a lot of stuff right around the line of scrimmage, and I'm not saying that he can't do anything, but he's a really young player. He's actually one of the youngest players in the draft, which is nice. But I think it also lends to the fact that he's very raw at this point. Obviously, he has insane athleticism and all that kind of stuff. I'm not saying Sadiq won't ever be anything. Like, I think he actually will probably hit at some point, but I could easily see it being 3 or 4 years. People look like he broke all the records at the combine, and all like Vernon Davis. Well, go look at Vernon Davis's NFL production.
Several years before he.
Yeah, it took him. I think it took him 5 years before he had 1,000 yards. Obviously, like I'm not even saying 1,000 yards is the cutoff, but like that was before he really truly blew up. It took him 5 years, and he had a great NFL career and all that kind of stuff. And I could see the same thing happen to Sadiq, but like Vernon Davis had 200 yards receiving in his rookie year. Like that could easily happen. Right. So my point of the story is I don't have Sadiq at 106. So I can't. Like I know that's consensus and everything, but I can't put him there. I just can't do it.
I have a question for you: Isaiah Likely or Kenyon Sadiq?
I think I'd still go Sadiq. I mean, like, don't get me wrong. Like, I like Likely, and obviously he's in a great situation now. He finally got out from under Andrews and all that. Right. I always kind of look at Likely as like, kind of like one of the mid-tier tight ends. Like, he's probably going to stick around and he's going to get you like, high-end tight end 2 numbers, maybe even low-end tight end 1 numbers, in his career. But I don't know that he's ever going to be the tight end 1 or anything. Sadiq at least has that ability. I just think it's going to take time. I mean, like I said, the guy's not even 21 yet, so, you got to give him time. But I also don't want to necessarily invest in that production profile at 106 when I can invest in someone else, make a couple trades, and then go get Sadiq in like 2 years when he's about to blow up.
Well, that was my point with bringing up Likely, because it's like for what you're saying, Sadiq's kind of. I mean, you'd be wasting a really high pick, a rookie pick on a Sadiq when. Likely's kind of he put in that time already, and now he could possibly. I mean, you don't know how strong Neighbors is going to be when he comes back.
Yep.
He could have a featured role. I mean, he's definitely going to be. He signed a big contract, so he's definitely going to be utilized. Whereas you might not even see him in his first year. I mean, I guess you'll see him if he's going to be a top 20 pick.
He's going to be on the field.
Yeah.
I mean,
trades that I've seen actually happen in real leagues are Tucker Kraft for the 106, and like I would take Tucker Kraft over Sadiq right now, and so like I feel like that's really simple. If you're really gunning for tight end there, go get Tucker Kraft, somebody who's proven to be a stud. Obviously coming off the injury, but once again, we don't worry too much about ACLs and all that kind of stuff anymore. He had plenty of time to recover. It wasn't like a super late injury or anything. So give me Tucker Kraft, proven production. They just got rid of Dobbs. So if anything, like, Kraft should have even more, opportunity and everything there. Than waiting. Like I think you're gonna wait. I mean, I could be wrong, but I think you're gonna be waiting for Sadiq, and people hate dynasty players hate waiting.
And that's all very fair. So let's remove Sadiq. So we got a top 5. Is that reasonable? All right.
Yeah.
So
no, absolutely.
Is there a big drop off from there, or is it kind of a small step to Boston or Concepcion, or who do you have next, and how do you feel about the tiers going from Lemon and Tate to the next guy?
I honestly I'm a little lower on Lemon. Like I still have him in my top 3 and everything, but I'm a little lower. So like I feel like Lemon's closer to 4 than he is to 2. Sure. And that's basically how I have it graded. But I have Omar Cooper Jr. at wide receiver 4. So I mean, if you want to put him at 106, that's fine by me. I have him. And I actually have his teammate. A lot of people seem to be out on Elijah Surratt, but I've been, from day one, I've been a Surratt fan. In fact, just recently did I move Cooper above Surratt, and it was because they actually have Cooper going at in the first round now, and Surratt used to be close to the first round or possibly even in there. Now he's getting pushed back to like early third round in the NFL draft. So it was kind of tough to really. Like, I don't use draft capital too much, but it has to be at least a part of the puzzle and everything. And so like I said, it's really close. But I love both of those players, and I honestly think that they did a great job of boosting Mendoza And not to say that I hate Mendoza or anything like that, but I think they did a great job of boosting Mendoza and making him look even better than maybe he actually is.
To your point about draft capital, the biggest thing for me for draft capital is opportunity, because guys who are drafted in the 3rd, 4th, 5th round, they only get a shot or two, and then they're perennial wide receiver 4s. Whereas a guy drafted in the 1st round is going to get opportunity from the jump, and if he can stay on the field, then he's going to get And when I say opportunity, I mean playing time. I don't mean targets or any of that. I just mean being able to be in the on the first team offensive practice, and that's a huge part of it. And then being on the field in games and earning some potentially earning targets. So when someone, this is a good conversation I had with someone recently, like they compared a first round wide receiver to someone that was drafted in the 4th round, and said, well, this 4th rounder popped, but the 4th rounder popped, but the 1st rounder they didn't yet, but they could still do it. I'm like, wait, maybe so, but if that 4th rounder didn't pop, they weren't going to be on the field.
Right.
If St. Brown didn't pop, he wasn't going to be on the field again. If that 1st rounder doesn't hit, that's a bad sign, because that means that they had opportunity and didn't take advantage of it. Like, there should be a quicker progression in the 1st round. So if you get an Elijah, I almost said Surratt. If you get an Elijah Surratt and he goes in the 3rd round, you might have to be a little more patient than if you took someone in the 1st round and they flopped in the 1st year. So.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why, when you have that kind of discrepancy, and I like both players, obviously I'm going to lean draft capital at that point, to your point. So, and that's why I'm saying I actually had Surratt ahead of Lemon originally. But once again, Surratt was being talked about as like a 1st round pick at that point. Now he's really being talked about more in like the early 3rd. We'll see what happens, but just because of that,
they made you jump Lemon up, wasn't it? Those great interviews he did.
yeah, it was
it's that aura.
So what exactly bothers you about Lemon? Why is Lemon not as high? The only reason I'm bringing this up is because he's kind of been like mocked. Everyone seems to love him, but I understand that he doesn't really do well after the catch. But what's your take?
Well, he's basically a slot only receiver, and people try to make him out to be, he can be more. He wasn't asked to be more in college. He ran 81% of his routes out of the slot for his first 2 years, and then that dropped a little bit, but he still finished his career at 71% in the slot. And then he only had, last year, he had 1,200 something yards. I don't remember the exact number, but he only had 150 of those yards come from intermediate routes. So he's not running your normal, like wide receiver routes that we're thinking of in the NFL. It was a lot of screens. It was a lot of goes, and that's great in college, and that works in college, but that doesn't really work in the NFL unless it works for Alec Pierce. Except for, he has 2 touchdowns one week and then he has 8 yards the next week. So if that's what you want, that's fantastic. But I really think he's a slot only receiver. And people want to compare him to Amon-Ra St. Brown. Like, Amon-Ra, coming out of college, had a much more robust profile. People look at it and go, he got drafted in the 4th round and all that. His college career got screwed up by COVID, and that screwed up him where he got drafted and everything. So, if you just look at what he did on those teams with Drake London, with Michael Pittman Jr., Amon-Ra St. Brown was a much better prospect. He just got screwed in the NFL. Now Lemon's not getting screwed, but he had no one else around him. He had, Jacoby Lane that we can talk about. It was always like a fun prospect, but he's not much of anything, or he's very raw. We'll just leave it at that. So I think I like Lemon because he has a great floor. I don't know how high the ceiling goes, and that's why I lean more towards him being like almost like in a tier of his own, or closer to the tier with the wide receiver 4 and 5 there than being in that top tier.
Gotcha.
How many
first round running backs that you think can sneak into that second half of the rookie first round that you feel good about? Because I know there's going to be running backs to get there, but any that you feel good about?
I feel like the running backs have kind of gotten a little more hype now. We're getting a little closer to the draft itself. Like first there were no running backs after.
Yeah.
after Love. But now we're hearing some talk of some running backs. Like where you at? Where you at with that?
I've kind of come full circle on it because originally I was all about Jadarian Price. I was actually I was kind of out on Jonah Coleman, but I was willing to listen to it, and he had projected draft capital, great projected draft capital. So I was excited about that. But then it was Mike Washington Jr. that I was always kind of a question mark. Like, he is a fifth-year player. He didn't do much his first 4 years, and then he just goes up and blows up in the SEC of all things, versus when he was at these smaller schools like Memphis and wherever else. He finally blows up, and then he goes to the combine and does what he does. And I'm like, man, there's just a lot of question marks, but at the same time, sometimes you just have to look at the athleticism and go, man, if that guy gets into the right spot, like, that's going to be it. So I think that's what it's going to be for Washington. If he can get the draft capital that he's being projected to get right now after the combine, and then if he can land in a good spot, I think he's going to be my RB2. And that's crazy to say, but it just kind of goes to show, like, how this draft class is. Unfortunately, Jadarian Price doesn't have much of a receiving profile, but then you can kind of excuse that away because he was behind Jeremiah Love his entire career. He actually tore his Achilles his freshman season, so he missed that whole season. He comes back, and at that point Jeremiah Love's there, and Jeremiah's like, all right, I got this from here, dude. So we never see him get any kind of receiving work or anything like that. But it's really tough to say he can't do it. We know he hasn't done it. But I also thought he was a little more explosive, a little more athletic than maybe he was, because he went to the combine. He looked okay, not amazing, not great. So, that's a little concerning. But to answer your question, Justin, do I think a couple of those guys can sneak in? I think they probably will. But I think it will really be landing spot dependent. We've seen Jadarian Price be comped to Seattle. We know that Charbonnet is probably out until like November, December. Like, imagine how great that could be for Jadarian Price. It would be his game. It'd be his show. At that point, I think that's probably worth a first round pick. So there's scenarios where I'm out. There's scenarios where I'm in. We really don't have that information yet. But those are the two guys, Washington and Jadarian Price, that I think I would say I could see getting into the first. I don't think there's anyone else that I would be willing to put into the first.
Wow.
Yeah. Man, it's so shallow.
Let's
talked about Sadiq. How do you feel about Stowers? Is he someone that you're interested in, or is there another tight end that we should have our eye on that it might sneak up into the draft? And
so there's basically like 4 tight ends that I think are like that I'm willing to draft, and that's Sadiq, Stowers, Jolie, and what's his name, and Michael Trigg. Those are the 4 that I'm really willing. Not to say that I won't draft any other ones, but it'd probably be in like the 5th round or something like that of a rookie draft, if anything. But the thing is that Sadiq and Stowers have been pushed up so much that I'm basically like, I'm never going to have any of them. Like, they're going to be drafted before me. So it's not that I don't like Stowers, but I basically have him like 1 or 2 spots behind Sadiq as far as like, I actually group wide receivers and tight ends together in my ranks. And so I have them like 1 or 2 spots, away from each other, but it's not in the first round. So like, I'm never going to get any of them. So I almost have gone to the point where I don't even care anymore. But then right behind them, I have Justin Jolie out of NC State, and he's been a guy that I've been a huge fan of. He's just that like receiving, like a Rondé Gadsden from last year. Like, he's that receiving profile guy. Maybe a little undersized, but is just a hell of a receiver, like a Harold Fannin Jr., like that kind of thing. But the thing is, he's not getting any of the hype that everyone else is getting. So I feel like you're going to be able to get him in the 3rd, 4th, or maybe even the 5th round compared to these other guys. But I don't have him ranked that far behind those guys, though.
Do you think he gets that NFL draft capital that will kind of push him up rookie draft boards?
Well, so when I originally I started looking at these guys and transitioning over to the rookies and everything in January. When I originally was doing it, Justin Jolie at NFLMockDraftDatabase.com was the 400th ranked player in the draft. Now he's considered the 107th ranked player in the draft. So he's moved up almost 300 spots in that time.
Wow.
I don't know that he's not going to get Sadiq levels. He's not going to be a first rounder or anything like that. But right now he's projected like 107. That's what, like fourth round. That's fine by me. And like I said, I'm probably going to be taking him in the third or fourth round of a down draft class in the rookie draft. So it doesn't really bother me there either. But like I said, the point is, I don't think he's that much worse of a prospect than Stowers or Sadiq. But yeah, he's just really not getting the love at all.
Wow.
Well, if he's a guy that we can get much later, that's going to be someone to target later in rookie drafts that we don't have to, exhaust a bunch of capital or trade up so much to get.
Let's take a quick JSN break. Well, I mean, he just signed a big $42 million a year. Steady Eddie in the chat.
Getting some QB money out there.
Is this the time to sell JSN? I mean, I don't know. Let's ask the dynasty coach. What do you think?
I mean, obviously, if someone's sending you a Godfather offer, like sometimes you see these things on Twitter, and it's like, I got Malik Neighbors and Jahmyr Gibbs and 105. Like, of course, of course you're making that deal. But I think that's kind of what it takes at this point. Like, he's essentially, if he's not your wide receiver one overall, he's at least a top 3 guy for you, right? I mean, he has to be. So, is it time to sell? Maybe, but like I don't want it to be just because he just got paid and just because he had just amazing season, you have to sell him. Like that's not the right way to play dynasties. So, he can be a sell, but it's going to take an overpay, at least for me.
Are you like a 3 random firsts for JSN guy or?
Oh God, no. Especially, especially. I mean,
there
even
are
people,
guys out there. There are guys out there that'll see those.
And people, yeah, oh, absolutely. And people will make like the 27 classes is generational, all that kind of stuff. Like I wouldn't even take 327 first. I'm not doing that. There's just way too much up in the air. You got to give me someone proven at the very least. I'm willing to take some first, but like I said, Neighbors is coming off an injury. I don't know why I'm harping on Neighbors tonight. Maybe I just I have a lot of Neighbors. Maybe I have them on the brain or something. But like Neighbors coming off an injury. Maybe if someone's scared about that, they're willing to add a first or two. On top of Neighbors to get to JSN. Okay, yeah, but like I said, it's taking an overpay. I'm not selling him for, if I think he's worth 4 first, I'm not selling for 4 first value. I'm selling him for 4.5 first or whatever it is.
He's like kind of wide receiver 1 right now overall, I would think, right? Is that where we're at?
He's in that conversation for sure.
Yeah.
So I mean, real quick, you started up the dynastyworkshop.com. You want to talk about that a little bit? I mean, what does anyone mess with that at all? I mean, this is pretty lot of information on this website here. I was just running through it before.
No, I appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, honestly, like my whole thing has always been, once I started getting into like the nerdy stuff and the analytics and all that kind of stuff, is I created a model. I hate calling it a model, so I call it Beth. And so Beth is my model.
Beth.
I mean, long story short, a good
song.
I don't know if you remember FF_Spaceman, FF Spaceman from back in the day, but he used to be a big
Dave, right?
Yeah, Dave. Yeah,
man. We've had we've had a number of. In fact, I was messaging with him within the last 2 weeks.
He's made a few appearances on the show here.
So. Yeah, Dave's been a friend of the show. He's been on the show.
Awesome.
He's been on the show a number of times. In fact, go check out some of the Spaceman shows because they are pretty funny.
Oh yeah, Spaceman's amazing. He's so much fun. But we became good friends. I used to do a virtual happy hour when COVID started, and we were starting to get bigger in the fantasy space. I started doing a virtual happy hour every Friday. And I mean, that went for years. And it started with just a group of us that all love fantasy football. And then like, we're all best friends. We all talk like daily and everything. We're all in leagues together and whatnot. But Dave was a part of that. And so I created this model, but I'm like, I hate, everyone says they have a model. And then that kind of like demeans the word model, because if everyone has a model, then no one does. And so I hated it. And then, but you know, like I felt like I was onto something. I felt like I had something good, and so I'm like, well, what do I call it? And Dave jokingly said Beth, and I'm like, you know what? That's perfect. And then eventually, I actually came up with an actual name, like an actual acronym for it. So it's like I forget exactly what it is. It's something like the better efficiency touchdown heuristic or something like that. I forget exactly what it is, but now there's actually a name for Beth. But you know, it's just a stupid name. That's the truth of the matter. Is I just hate saying model. That's all it really is. But I created this thing, created Beth, and I'm like, you know, I'm using it daily, so why wouldn't other people want to use this? And so I started putting it out. I started creating all these tools and stuff on Google Sheets, but you know, you only have so much you can do on Google Sheets. Only so many users can use it at a time and all that.
This is dynastyworkshop.com. So yeah, check it out.
So I created the Dynasty Workshop, and now it's actual like working web tools and things like that. It's not just Google Sheets. And so there's rankings and there's all kinds of tools. I mean, there's literally everything you can want. If you're into best ball, there's a best ball tool. If you're into DFS, there's a DFS tool. There's a draft tool. If you guys, I don't know if you guys draft on Sleeper or play on Sleeper, but the draft tool goes along with you, especially even for your rookie drafts. It automatically determines, is this a startup or a rookie draft? And then it shows you what players Beth has ranked where and that kind of thing, and helps you in your rookie drafts, but it knows who's there, who's not, and all that kind of stuff. So it's essentially telling you, like, this is the next available player. And the great thing about that is, you know, like if you're just going by ADP, you might forget, like, you know, everyone has Sadiq at 106. Well, you might forget that Omar Cooper Jr. is sitting there because he's pushed down a few spots. But that sleeper tool is not going to let you forget that, because it's going to say, Omar Cooper's right there. You know, draft that player.
Wow. So Omar Cooper is he's something that everyone should be kind of looking at right now. I mean, he's been flying up the charts.
Oh yeah. So the hilarious thing is that I had Omar Cooper in my first round. Once again in January, when I first like rolled everything over, I started going to shows, started writing articles for DLF. I'm like, Omar Cooper Jr., first round pick. People were like, really? You think that? You know, I don't know. I don't know if he has the speed, the athleticism, that kind of thing. Now, 3, 4, 5 months later, we're sitting here going, everyone's like, oh my God, you know, it's Omar Cooper, he's a first round pick. And I'm like, well, thanks for catching up.
he could end up being an NFL first round pick. You never know. I mean, he's on Tankathon, he's mocked as like the 36th overall pick.
Yeah, he's really close. Really
so
close.
You never know. Somebody might take a shot at him. What are your thoughts on KC Concepcion?
I like KC. He was so. There's another player in the draft named Zachariah Branch who's he's just a gadget guy. Like don't fall for the Zachariah Branch hype, because some people love him. He went out and ran like a 4.35 or whatever he ran, and people are like, yep, that's my guy. He's projected to get great draft capital, but that's because of what he does on special teams. It's not because of what he does as a wide receiver. So like, it's one of those where you don't want to fall for the draft capital with this guy, because he's going to mean so much more for an NFL team for what he does than he's going to mean for your actual fantasy team. Mm-hmm. KC Concepcion was kind of on that path in years 1 and 2, and then in year 3 he completely changed as a player. He also changed his teams, which helped, but he went from that gadgety guy around the line of scrimmage. You know, I told you how I don't like the guys that just catch around the line of scrimmage and get a point or whatever. Right. He went from that to running, you know, actual routes and things like that. Now, reception perception came out on him. I'm not the biggest reception perception fan, but it is nice seeing the route trees sometimes and seeing how many routes they ran. And you can see Concepcion essentially ran like 3 routes. That was really it. But he went from that gadgety guy to more of a downfield threat and more of a real wide receiver and not just the gadget. So he jumped up my boards. Now, I still have him like a tier below Omar Cooper and Elijah Surratt, but he is my wide receiver 6. So, like, it's a tier drop, but unless there's a running back or there's no tight end or QB for me there. So essentially, unless a running back jumps in, he's still going to be my next player after Cooper and Surratt there.
Wow. What about the polarizing 6'4" Denzel Boston?
N'Keal Harry 2.0?
Oh,
wow. Nice.
Man. Coach off the top rope with this one. He grabbed us by the jersey and shook us.
In N'Keal Harry's defense, N'Keal Harry was like projected 101, 102. He was the 101 until I think Josh Jacobs. Was that the same draft?
Right.
Josh Jacobs was it?
Yes, that's the same draft. I know because I have N'Keal Harry.
And he still went 101 in a lot of drafts, but he was 102 in a lot of drafts. And and I was never a fan, but obviously he was a first round wide receiver. A lot of people fell in love with them. But it's looking at the athleticism, and I think that's the same thing that Denzel Boston lacks. And there's a reason why he didn't run the 40. They just don't have the athleticism that you need in the NFL today. You need to be able to separate. You need to be able to burn a corner, and you can do that when you're at Washington and you're playing some lower level teams and everything. Yes, they joined the Big Ten, but they're still kind of playing. If you go look at their schedule last year, they weren't playing exactly the same teams that maybe some of these other Big Ten teams were playing. Unfortunately, even though they joined the conference, they have these schedules made from years and years prior. So sometimes it takes a while for them to actually get to the actual heart of the schedule or whatever. So he was beating up on really bad, really poor competition. And the thing is, there was a true freshman named Desmond Roebuck who was doing about 80% of what Denzel Boston was doing as a senior, so like that. And I'm not saying Roebuck was like a 3-star prospect. He wasn't anyone like amazing or anything like that. So basically, just the point is, I think Boston's overrated. I think he's slow, and I think that's going to be a problem for him in the NFL, just like it was for N'Keal Harry. I have two comps. It's N'Keal Harry or Terrace Marshall Jr. Those are my two comps, and it's guys that scored a lot of touchdowns in college. But they really didn't excel in other places, and that's essentially N'Keal Harry or Denzel Boston.
You were saying earlier that you like this class of wide receivers, but it sounds like it's a little more thin than maybe we had hoped for. Who do you have that?
It is, but it's more.
Surratt, and then where do you go?
So I love this draft class because there's so many players that other people love. And they're landmines, but they're going to go early. Denzel Boston's still being considered a first-round pick, or at least an early second-round pick by a lot of people. Kenyon Sadiq's going to go higher than I would pay for him. Once again, not saying Sadiq's terrible or anything like that. I just think it's going to take time. People are going to push up Zachariah Branch. People are going to push up Jacoby Lane, and Chris Brazell and Chris Bell coming off an ACL tear, and players like that. And it's not that I hate those players. It's just they're going to be drafted earlier than I would take them. So I love this draft class because there's so many landmines that people are going to take. I still think there's a lot of depth and a lot of value later on. Like I was saying with Justin Jolie, like I'm saying with like a Jeremy Bernard. He doesn't get a lot of love. In fact, I was listening to Ryan McDowell on the DLF podcast today, and he was saying, they were talking about Jeremy Bernard, and he was saying that he's gone as early as the first round in some of these mocks. He's gone as late as the third round in some of these rookie mocks. And so that's the kind of thing, like depending on your draft and everything, you might be able to get a guy like Jeremy Bernard mid to late second, maybe possibly in the third round, and that's unbelievable value at that point.
Yeah, I mean, are you just like, I just want to see where these guys go, and that'll just really set things up for what I'm thinking, in a rookie draft, because you don't know what the NFL is thinking. It feels like all these running backs and these after the top 3 or 4 wide receivers, it's just a whole like mess. Like normally second round, what your second round rookie draft, what the second round rookies are going to look like in your rookie drafts. Like you have a good idea of how it's going to shake out. I mean, is the second round of the of the 2026 rookie draft kind of already done, or we got to wait for the NFL draft to really kind of set it up here?
Yeah, absolutely. So like I don't ever break tiers. like if I have a guy as a tier 1 guy, I'm never taking a tier 2 guy ahead of him, regardless of draft spot or anything like that. I know it. Maybe it doesn't always work out, but it probably works out 80% of the time or whatever.
Like a Harold Fannin, when he was drafted late, but everyone was like, before the draft, everyone was like, this guy's a top guy. And then he kind of just
he's behind Njoku, and who's his quarterback, and
now Fannin, he's probably he's right up there, I guess.
Yeah, so I break everyone into tiers, and then I say, like I said, Jordan Tyson's my tier 1 guy. I'm not taking anyone above him or anything like that. Then you have Tate and Lemon. I'm not taking anyone above them. Then you have Cooper and Surratt, not taking anyone above them. And then you have Concepcion and Bernard. I'm not taking anyone above them. Then you have 10 players that are all really close. Boston's in there. Malachi Fields, Chris Bell, Chris Brazell, Kenyon Sadiq, Eric McAllister, Jacoby Lane, Eli Stowers, like all the Justin Jolie, all those guys that's where you start going, I want to know where you're landing, that kind of thing within those 10. But before that, I don't care necessarily where Casey Concepcion goes. I'm still drafting him before I take Sadiq. Like that's just, at least in my opinion.
That tier where you have those 10 guys, who was in that tier last year? Like, does that make any sense to ask that question like that?
Yeah, I can look. The great thing about having Beth is it's all here, so I don't have to think.
She's kind of hot. You had on your website there is Beth is an actual. You can she's got. Yeah, she's cute.
All right, so last year, guys in the same range were Pat Bryant, Jaden Higgins, Harold Fannin, Alec Imaner, Jack Besh, Jalen Knoll, Aronde Gadsden, Kyle Williams, and Dante Thornton Jr.
And most of those guys are still
big question.
They're question marks.
but there's a couple hits. Once again, good landing spots. Aronde Gadsden. No one's. I mean, maybe Jack Besh.
Jack Besh. What a waste of a pick, huh? What happened? What's wrong? You think that guy's going to emerge ever, or what?
Yeah, that one was a little wild, but like Jaden Higgins, there's still a lot to be excited about there. I think he'll probably become something when it's all said and done. Sure. Obviously, people love Fannin. I don't know if the Titans are going to draft a wide receiver. They probably should. But especially if they don't, Iomaner's still technically the wide receiver 1 on that team. I know they brought in Wandale, but Wandale's definitely more of the slot and everything. We'll see how Ward uses him. Like he's been used well in New York. I don't know that he's the right fit for Cam Ward. We'll have to wait and see. But like you said, none of those guys are truly dead. Maybe a couple of them, but there's still a lot of hope. So once again, and I don't expect there to be 100% hit rate out of that range. That's why I have a tier of 10. I'm saying you're probably looking at like maybe a 50% hit rate, or maybe even a little bit lower in that range. But some of those guys, I would think like a Malachi Fields. I like him. He's slower, but he's also huge. He's 6'4", 222, I think he is. And so people are like, oh, he ran a 4.62, so he's dead. But you actually, his height adjusted speed score is actually just below, or not that far below some of these top guys, like a Jeremy Bernard, who's going well ahead of him and things like that. So. You get guys like that. Eric McAllister is like my sleeper of the draft. That's like my favorite player that no one really gives credit for. I get it. He's from TCU. We have not had Jack. We just talked about Jack Besh. But he's better than Jack Besh. So I comp Eric McAllister to Quentin Johnston with hands.
Whoa.
Okay. That's a pretty big difference from
right. So that's what I'm saying. You can get excited about that, right?
Now, what is this? A 3rd round guy in a rookie draft for you? Like,
so
is he like a 3rd round rookie draft pick here?
Well, it's really weird. He's fluctuated so much in the process. Like he's gone everywhere from he was considered an undrafted player when I first started looking at it in January. Then at one point he got up into like the third round range of projected NFL draft capital, and now he's back in like round 6 because he didn't do anything at the combine, and so I think like people are just kind of forgotten about him. There's some off the field stuff, but like honestly, I think it's behind him. I don't know, but people always bring up the off the field stuff with him. It's more like attitude and all that kind of stuff. But I haven't heard anything new. I haven't heard anything recently. I haven't heard anyone saying like, "Oh, no teams, this team has him off their draft board because of this or that or whatever." He actually has McAllister has in Beth. He has the third best production profile out of all of these wide receivers. Wow. But then he just doesn't have the projected draft capital. And like Justin was saying, it's all about opportunity. You start getting 6th, 7th round draft capital, you're not guaranteed anything at that point. And so, like at that point, I can't be too excited about him. I don't think I could personally let him leave the 2nd round just because I want to make sure I get him in my rookie drafts. But he probably will be a 3rd round pick. For a lot of people, I would say.
Interesting. So, you think there's going to be do you think we're going to get a lot of 2nd round fantasy friendly players in the NFL draft? Just in the way that you've seen things unfold so far.
Well, yeah, I mean, everyone. So, like, Emmett Johnson's a running back that a lot of people were really excited about going in. In fact, I just saw someone posted today was his pro day. He kind of bombed the combine. Then he goes, yeah,
nice.
Yeah,
I heard a lot about him prior to the combine, and then he like kind of took a shit at the combine, and then
he bombed the combine. But then today, I guess he had a much better pro day. I take it with a grain of salt. I'm not a fan, but I think that those are the kind of players that are going to jump up into like the early and mid 2nd rounds, especially if they land into solid spots. Him, Jonah Coleman. A lot of people really love Katron Allen. Even though he's really slow, dude's just too slow to be a running back in the NFL, probably. But his teammate Nicholas Singleton would have probably been in the mix for like an early 2nd or possibly even a 1st round pick had he not broken his foot at the Senior Bowl. So he couldn't do any of the 40 times. He couldn't do any of the combine stuff. Well, my whole thing with Nicholas Singleton from like day 1 of college was he's not that great of a running back, but he's going to go to the combine and he's going to boost his stock there. Well, he broke his foot. He couldn't boost his stock. So we have to wait and see what happens now. He's not a terrible running back. He just really lacks the vision that you would like to see from anyone that you're going to take in like the 1st round or anything like that. But if he lands in the right spot, he has way more athleticism than you could ever ask for. A la like think of like an Isaiah Pacheco for the Chiefs. If he lands in the perfect spot, it could work, and it can work. So I'm definitely not writing him off. The sad part is Nicholas Singleton and Katron Allen were teammates. I always said if you combine the two, you'd probably have the perfect running back. Unfortunately, they haven't figured that one out yet, so that's not the case. But I think it's going to be those running backs that are gonna jump up. A lot of people love Damon Claiborne for some reason. He's god awful, but some people like Desmond Reed because he's super fast. Dude's like 182 pounds. But the thing is, like everyone seems to be choosing their one guy that they love, and everyone's going to be pushing those guys up because it's a down class. So I think those are the guys that you're going to be seeing in the 2nd round. It's going to be the running backs that people say, oh, he's only a play behind. Think back to last year with like Woody Marks and Jaden Blue and Devin Neal. Like, think about how people talked about those guys, and they're like, oh my God, they're just one guy away, they're one injury away. It's like, yeah, but they're not good at football.
So this rookie class is kind of a down class overall. Is there a comparable class? You've been doing this a while. Like, what does this compare to in your years past? Could it be the Dobbins Akers class, perhaps? Like that.
Yeah. The running backs, it really reminds me of 2024, because you have one guy at the top. Now people forget about Jonathan Brooks because he tore his ACL like almost immediately, but he was a good player, and he's not Jeremiah he's not Jeremiah Love level, but he's not that far off. So, but then, you have a lot of question marks after that. Trey Benson, Marshawn Lloyd, Jalen Wright, Blake Corum, Braylon Allen, Bucky Irving, obviously is there. But there's a lot of question marks. And so I think it's kind of the same thing where, you have the one guy at the top, you have a bunch of question marks. Now, we've dealt with a lot of injuries out of those guys. Trey Benson can't stay on the field. Marshawn Lloyd definitely cannot stay on the field at all. Blake Corum has kind of flashed at times. Braylon Allen tore his ACL. So we can't even say what exactly would have happened, but the way that I look at it is closer to 24 than probably any other recent class. And, but I could see that, where you have the one guy at the top, and then you probably have maybe two guys that will hit. And that's why I'm saying, I think I'm choosing my two guys as Jadarian Price and Mike Washington. And I'm basically saying, those are my guys. I'm not saying I won't draft any other running backs, but it's all going to be about value and all that. Mm-hmm. But, those are my two guys that I'm really willing to do anything with beyond, obviously, Jeremiah Love.
I'm going to be doing a whole lot more of a shotgun approach for this and just spray and pray as far as that goes. Trading back into the second round up of a late first and just taking 2 or 3 guys rather than trying to invest in one, because I don't know what this class looks like beyond Love. I mean, I don't know any of them.
How early do you trade for the 27 first in a rookie draft? You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah. So the nicest thing is that when we originally started talking about this, people were like, get past those first 5 picks and then give me a 27 first. As people have started to fall in love with more players, Kenyon Sadiq and Omar Cooper and some of these other players, and obviously even now people are talking about Ty Simpson, the quarterback. So as people are falling more and more in love with these players, it's getting pushed back and pushed back. So it's nice because it's giving us that do have these 26 picks something to work with. Because before it was if you don't have a top 5 pick, what do? You're screwed, right? Now you actually can work with this. So I think the answer is 109. Anything beyond 109, I'm willing to do it. But anything before that, think about it. We've talked about Justin was mentioning how Jordan Tyson's kind of people are falling out of love with him because of the hamstring and stuff like that. I've seen people talking about, okay, well, you got to move Sadiq ahead of him now. Well, you got to move Lemon ahead. You got to move Carnell Tate ahead. And now what if they decide, hey, Dan Orlovsky's right, you got to move Ty Simpson ahead. All of a sudden, you're talking about 107 or 108, and you're getting Tyson, baby. My wide receiver one in the class. So I don't think I'd be willing to move pre-draft, before 109. Now, if we're on the clock, Tyson's gone and all that kind of stuff, that's a different scenario. But if we're talking about pre-draft, I think 109 and beyond, give me a 27 first, I'm good. But anything before that, and I think I'm sticking to my guns.
Interesting. Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah, that's later than pretty much anybody has said.
So, I'm obviously I am here to pimp my stuff, but I'm not trying to overly pimp my stuff or anything like that. But on the Debbie Devotional last week, we just did a Cornerstone mock, or covered a Cornerstone mock. A Cornerstone mock is talking about the 25, 26, and 27 classes. And so we went over all this stuff where we're basically talking about the values of those picks and that kind of stuff. And, our consensus take was everyone's been talking up this 27 class and how amazing it is. And it is. It's going to be a good class. I don't know that it's this generational class that people are trying to make it out to be. And in fact, in the new NIL era, a lot of these guys might stay another year. And then it's not the 27 class that's benefiting from all these great players and stuff. It's actually the 28 class. I can't guarantee any of that, of course, but I'm just saying that's kind of the consensus. What we talked about is the 27 class is going to be good. I believe that. It's not going to be every single player is the Jeremiah Smith that you've heard about, or every single player is HJ Jeff or whatever. It's not going to be that, but it is a quality draft. But the running backs aren't that much better in the 27 class that they are in the 26 class. So this isn't this class sucks, but next year everyone's going to fill in and all that. No, it's not that much better, honestly.
All right, guys, y'all heard it. don't at me or Larry. Go straight to at Dynasty Coach A with your complaints and your vitriol about next year's class. I don't want to hear it. All right, I didn't make the statement.
Hey, I will. I mean, it's not my job, but it's essentially my job. Like, this is what I do. I will take anyone on if they want to argue with me about how amazing next year's class is. Once again, it's good. It's not that good.
Nice. I love it.
As Superflex people, we're excited about more quarterbacks pushing some of these position players down and creating that way.
But even then, like people are talking about, like, people mention 6 or 7, 8, 9 quarterbacks when they talk about all these quarterbacks. Right now, I have 4 quarterbacks that I would be willing to draft from that class. Now, that can change. Obviously, we have a full year of college for them to take a step forward, take a step back, whatever. But I have 4 quarterbacks. But people would make you think that there's like 8 quarterbacks in the draft class that are worth a damn right now. Right now, there's 4.
Well, that's 4 times more than what we have this year.
Well,
absolutely.
Unless you're really high on Ty Simpson, like the Jets might be.
Let's just get into Ty Simpson. What the? Is he even your quarterback too? I mean, he's just out of nowhere. He's got all he's getting is this silly hype. With his 15 starts now. I don't know, man. Let's just go with the Ty Simpson take right now. Where are you at with this guy?
He is my quarterback too, but like Justin just said, like, that's not great. Like, it's not because he's amazing; it's because of the class. Like, we're definitely, once again, I'm not trying to downplay 27. It is better, but yeah. So Simpson, the sad part is he only has 15 starts under his belt. The funny thing is the NFL makes a point to say we're not going to do this anymore. We're not going to fall for the Trubiskys and the whoever else, like those kind of guys. We're going to stick to our guns. You have to, start 30 games or 24 games or whatever it is. And yet here we are, and they're talking about, drafting him in the first round. So he is my quarterback too. It's not because I like him. I honestly, I think he's a backup level QB at best. The nice thing is he does push the ball down the field, well, when he does it. The problem, he doesn't push the ball down the field as much as I would like him to do. So that's really the main issue. But the thing is, he's so super safe, and that's why I think he actually will be a good backup QB in the NFL. Like, he has a 1.1% interception rate in his college profile. Now, that's only 15 starts, but he does not turn the ball over, and so teams are going to love that. But it's because he's safe with the ball.
Hey, Larry, he's a backup quality or a quarterback for the NFL, which means he's a quality starter for the Jets. So
I want no part of this guy. I never wanted a part of this guy. Get out of here with
quarterback.
I don't want this guy at all.
I mean, not if you're taking him in the first. If any NFL team's taking him in the first, that's a joke. He's like a 3rd round pick at best in the NFL draft, and. But unfortunately, they're starved for talent, and maybe they're playing the game. Maybe like, oh yeah, we're gonna take Simpson at 18 or whatever, and then the actual draft comes around and they will Levis him. Yeah, but somebody's gonna take him in like the second or probably early second. I would imagine.
I feel like that's the Jordan Tyson thing that's going on right now. Everyone's blowing smoke that way, like, oh, Tyson, blah 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 blah. So everyone's they're trying to push him down the draft board so somebody else can. They're talking smack about him.
I hope so. I mean, Tyson's my baby. I love him to death. I said I wasn't here to toot my own horn, but I guess I'm doing it a lot. But so after Tyson tore his ACL after his freshman year, he only played in 6 games. Or no, he played in 9 games, but he was a true freshman, so he really only did anything in 6 of those 9 games. And I fell in love with him. I was like, this guy is a stud. But no one else was really giving him credit, and unfortunately he tore his ACL. Then a full year, he misses his sophomore year completely. In his junior season, he transfers over to Arizona State. And I put out, at the time, Zachariah Branch was considered the best wide receiver in college football. And I'm like, I hate Zachariah Branch. He's a gadget guy. He's not good at football. Jordan Tyson is my baby. And I said, every year we do a hot take show, and I put out on the W Devotional my hot take: Jordan Tyson will finish this year ranked ahead of Zachariah Branch. And everyone goes, oh, that's the spiciest thing I've ever heard. That's too hot, all that kind of stuff. And then come to find out at the end of the year, Jordan Tyson was the wide receiver one for just about everyone, and Zachariah Branch was an afterthought. And then he transfers over to Georgia, and now he's kind of an afterthought for the most part in this class. So, that was like my hot take, but that's my baby. That I fell in love with them, and then I got to watch that rise from everyone's rankings. He wasn't even, when I made that claim, he was not in the top 100 of Devy players. And now, he's considered at least a top 3 wide receiver in this class.
Nice. That's good. Good stuff, man. Justin, what else? You got anything else we covered?
We have covered the gamut tonight. As much as we can with this class, unless we want to get into some 4th and 5th rounders that nobody's ever heard about.
I can go into 6th and 7th rounders, 9th rounders. I got all of it.
I bet. So in a Superflex rookie draft, I mean, what's your top 5? Like, if you had the first 5 picks in the draft, which way are you going in a Superflex rookie draft, tight end premium, top 5 picks right now?
So I always like to say, like, this is how I would draft it. It doesn't mean how it's going to go or how I would actually maneuver a draft board or whatever. But if you said you have the first 5 picks, you have to make these picks, that kind of thing, it's going to be Jeremiah Love, Jordan Tyson, Carnell Tate, Fernando Mendoza, Mekhi Lemon.
Nice. That's interesting. Nice. Superflex Mendoza to 104.
Yeah, and it's so I think he has. So on dynastyworkshop.com, I just created a new tool, and it's called the Skyline Score, and it shows you the floor and the ceiling for these players. And basically, the point is a lot of people focus just on the ceiling, and they go, Anthony Richardson's going to be amazing, but they forget about the floor of the player, that he didn't actually have any college production or ever look like an NFL quarterback at any point in his college career. They forget about the floor part. And I'm like, so you have to have the floor, but then, of course, once you get to the NFL, for these studs like Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, like a Joe Burrow or whoever else, you have to have the ceiling as well. And so I created the Skyline Score, and it kind of shows both. It shows the floor, it shows the ceiling, and it shows you how much you can expect from these players. Well, Fernando Mendoza literally hits the good tier, and it's like he's going to be a good quarterback, and it goes good, great, elite. So, think about that. You're probably talking about QB 18, QB 15, whatever it is. That's not terrible. That's a good thing to have in Dynasty Superflex, but that's not changing your life. That's not winning you a shit by himself or anything like that.
Cam Ward or Mendoza?
I'd go Mendoza, and I've actually had this question before. I would go Mendoza because, going back to the Skyline Score, I think we have much more ceiling with Ward, but we lose the floor. And we've already seen a year of not amazing play. And so I would lean Mendoza, but honestly, I have them, going back to Beth, I have them as like pretty close prospects, but for different reasons, obviously.
Nice. Interesting, because Ward's kind of picking up some steam too in the offseason.
He is, but I mean, I just said, what, Mendoza be 15, QB 15, QB 18, something around there. Right. I think I have Ward at like QB 23 right now. So right. I mean, like it's not that they're that different. I mean, even if you have Mendoza at QB 21 and you have Ward at QB 23, that doesn't mean I hate Ward or I don't think he could ever do anything.
They're high-fiving each other on the ranking.
Right. Exactly. So I think they'll be close. I have them as prospects close for different reasons, but I feel like Mendoza has, especially, everyone loves him. Like he just has that like lovable mentality and everything, and he seems like the kind of guy that teams are going to fall in love with. They're going to want to build around, even if he doesn't necessarily have the tools that you might want with with some of these top tier guys.
Right.
He'll be around for a long time, even if he's not necessarily like the best quarterback out there.
What about I want to get you on again, but because we haven't even touched on any kind of Devi stuff, and that's like with a piss poor like rookie class, like you really want to get into the Devi. But if you had a top 3 right now, 27 and beyond, like forget about Arch Manning, but who's like your top 3 Devi guys right now, or just currently top 5 if you were in a draft? Just throwing
everyone's going to talk about Jeremiah Smith. He really is. I do not say generational. I'm not even saying generational for Jeremiah Smith, but I guess if there was going to be one, it would be him.
Right.
And I don't do it. Like people are saying Jeremiah Love's generational. People were saying, last year said Ashton Ginty was generational. Like I don't do all that stuff. But Jeremiah Smith is probably as close to that through 2 years in college as I've seen while I've been doing this. But and so he's going to be obviously the clear 101. Cam Coleman just transferred over to Texas, and he is my wide receiver too. But and some people are coming around and everything, but I don't know that he's getting quite that much love just yet. I think by the end of the year, you said not to mention Arch, but I think him and Arch are going to be quite a thing, and it's going to look really good when it's all said and done.
Wow.
Oh
yeah, go ahead.
Oh no! What was the question?
I was going to say, I was randomly throwing names at your way, like Bo Jackson. Think he's the man, or?
So I think Bo Jackson is a little overrated. He doesn't quite have the big time run rate that I'd like to see. Basically, big time run rate is your amount of plays over 15 yards. Like so, it shows the athleticism that you can break big plays. The thing is, people get crazy with Emmett Johnson because he broke a lot of tackles near the line of scrimmage, but his big time run rate is god awful. It's like 5.2% or something like that. So he doesn't break any big plays. People are like, oh, he breaks all these tackles. Like, well, that's fantastic. Well, where does he go? He doesn't go anywhere because he doesn't have any speed. I'm not saying Bo Jackson's that slow, but I don't have him quite as high as some people. Like a lot of people are pushing Bo up to like RB1 in the class, RB1 in even college football, and I can't do that. I don't have him that close.
Wow, who's your RB1 then?
Nate Shepard is my RB1, I believe. Excuse me. From Duke. He's my RB1. I mean, everything he did last year, and obviously Duke was great. Darian Minso is another player that I was going to mention, the quarterback from Duke. He transferred to Miami. He doesn't get a lot of love right now, but I think he's actually going to be at least a top 3 QB in the class next year. And he doesn't even hardly get mentioned half the time when people talk about QBs for next year. They talk about Dante Moore and
well, there's always going to be one or two that kind of burst on the scene that you're like, oh yeah, I didn't see that coming.
I really thought Minso was going to come out this year. I don't even know why he didn't, because it was such a down class for QBs. I feel like he could have been the QB2 in the class. But then Miami came calling, and they probably paid him a pretty hefty penny. So he probably made like, I don't know, $7 million or something like that by going to Miami.
What was his name?
Darian Minso.
Darian Minso. All right, you got to write that down, Justin.
Yeah. But yeah, Nate Shepard out of Duke is my RB1. And I mean, honestly, like even I said, the big time run rate, his big time run rate's actually a little lower than I'd like to see. But everything else that he did is a lot closer than what I want to see. Bo Jackson, I look at PPR points per touch. This is where I start getting nerdy into the analytics and all that kind of stuff. But I look at PPR points per touch for a running back. It's essentially saying, like, if you can earn points in college, you can earn points in the NFL. And Bo Jackson's sitting at a 0.93, which, you obviously probably don't really know how to gauge that. But then you look at guys like Jeremiah Love at a 1.4 PPR points per touch. That's a big difference when you're talking about that kind of range. And so I think that it's like, I like Bo Jackson. He's fine. He could probably be a decent running back in the NFL. I don't think he's quite to the level of like some of these like top end guys, like that kind of thing.
Wow. So who would be your RB2 then if Nate Shepard's your RB1? Would it be Bo, or is he not even? Is he like just not up?
No. So Bo right now is my RB13 in Devi.
Wow, nice.
So I don't, once again, I don't hate him, but I don't think he has that top tier talent. Honestly, a lot of the guys are sophomores right now. They were true freshmen last year.
What
so you have guys like
class is that?
2028.
28.
So
running backs, huh?
Yeah, so 28 has 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 of my top 10 guys are from the 2028 class. And two, and my top 2 guys are from the 28 class. So, I definitely think I'm leaning more that way right now, but that doesn't obviously mean that it'll end up that way. Obviously, we have a lot of time between now and then. But yeah, there's not that. I was telling you the RBs aren't that much better in the 27 class right now. There's not that many proven players. My RB2 and my RB1 in the 27 class is Isaac Brown out of Louisville, and he's actually 190 pounds. So we probably need to see him even bulk up a little bit to feel like overly comfortable with him. So right now is not the time to be like, I'm going to wait a year on running back because I don't know that it's going to be amazing next year either.
28 picks, man. Right, Justin?
Sure. Let's trade for 28 picks. That feels so great to say.
Are you a picks guy? Or do you like to trade? You like to get the players and give up the picks? Like, which way do you lean?
I'm definitely more of a trading for proven players. Obviously, like I'll trade for picks when it makes sense. You had asked about Isaiah Likely earlier. I had a guy who sent me a trade. And he's like, give me Likely for a second or whatever. And I'm like, well, the 26 class sucks. I'm not doing that, So, and then we went back and forth multiple times. I sent him back. I would send my 27 second for his 27 first, and I would give him Likely in my second for a 27 first. He said, no, I can't get rid of the 27 first. I've heard how amazing that class is, yada, yada, yada. So we went back and forth multiple times. Eventually, we finally settled on, I send him Likely. He sends me his 210 and 26 and his 27 second. And I'm like, you know what? Like, once again, the 27 second or the 27 class is not generational, but it is very good. I think that second's going to be pretty good. And I'm believing in my own talents as being able to draft that I can get somebody at 210 that's going to fall through the cracks, like an Eric McAllister that I was talking about before, or some other, maybe a running back that that lands in a great spot or whatever it might be. I believe in myself to be able to get, because I also have the 211 in that same draft, so I get 2 picks, one after another now, so I can actually make it work a little bit better there.
Manipulation of that board.
Yeah, but those are the kind of deals that I'll make. So like I'll if I'm getting those kind of picks, then I'm getting picks. But other than that, I generally try to focus on players. Like right now, you have DJ Moore going over to Buffalo. I've always been the biggest DJ Moore fan, and I really think that Caleb Williams, I mean, it's not even just like an opinion. You look at the numbers, like Caleb Williams, the catch rate or catchable rate for DJ Moore has been god awful. And so he's been in a terrible situation. He goes over to a better quarterback, better system, all that kind of stuff, and they pay him as their wide receiver 1. I'm trying to go get DJ Moore even more than I actually have. The problem is I already have so much. It's really difficult. And then people know me. They know how much I love DJ Moore. It's even more difficult to get a player like that because they're like, oh, no, I'm going to tax the hell out of you. So I haven't been able to do that. But that's, I mean, generally speaking, that's what I fall in love with players, and I go get those players.
Yep. That's how you do it, man. So you want to make a team, you gotta
it makes it more fun. It's more fun when you're watching football on Sunday. Like I'm in 30 leagues, but I'm not the guy that's just staring at the box score, going, oh well, I got 3 points or whatever. I turn all that stuff off. I don't even want to see my fantasy stuff on Sunday. I love football, and I turn on Red Zone. I turn on multiple TVs, and I watch football because I want to watch my players. I know in the back of my mind if my players are doing well or not, like that kind of thing. But I know that because I'm trading for the players that I like watching,
You're a Bucks fan?
I'm a Buck. Yeah, I was born and raised in Tampa. I'm a Bucks fan. I obviously have been ups and downs here and all that kind of stuff. But
you got a couple Super Bowls. I mean, it's a lot more than I've been able to witness in my life.
Yeah, absolutely.
My Falcons fandom has not treated me well either. So screw you, John.
Well, the nice thing is we won't have to worry about the Falcons for at least a couple of years. I mean, like it's not even necessarily their fault. Like I kind of feel bad for Falcons fans because they went all in on that Pierce guy, and then come to find out he's a complete douchebag. That's not even like the fun. I get to make fun of you kind of stuff. So like I actually feel bad for you guys. Wasted like multiple firsts on that guy and everything.
They kind of went all in on that Penix guy too.
Well, that's one that we can make fun of them for. Like the Pierce one, I feel bad for. The Penix one is just absolutely hilarious because he's a god awful quarterback. And the thing is, people ask me like, "Oh, do you think it's gonna be Tua or Penix?" I'm like, it's gonna be Tua. Like Penix is not an NFL quarterback. Like, what are we talking about here? And that's not even saying that Tua's amazing.
I think we're going to see a similar situation in both Minnesota and Atlanta, where they stick to their young player. The young player is so bad that they don't have any choice but to put in a veteran who actually knows how to play football, even if it's not great.
Right.
They know how to play. Like McCarthy and Penix are both going to see the bench because, come on, man, those guys suck.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I mean, yeah. What's that?
You got a lot of Baker? You're a Baker guy?
Yeah, I think I had more. So I was a big Baker truther when everyone hated him. Like when everyone was saying he's the worst quarterback that they've ever seen and all that kind of stuff, I was picking him up for thirds and fourths and whatever else I could. And then when he actually started producing again, I had like 60% or something like that. I'm like, yeah, that might be a little bit much. So I got to make some moves. And so I started making some moves. I ended up with a lot of last year. I'm not saying necessarily it had to do with Baker, but last year I ended up trading up into the late first, early second to get Jackson Dart in a lot of leagues, and now I'm at like 50% Dart, which I probably need to change a little bit. I don't like being at 50% with players, but when I feel like I got them for a steal, I'm okay with it. And I got Dart at like 201, 202 in Superflex leagues, but so I traded a lot of up, and some of that went with trading away other quarterbacks and other players. Like, I'll trade you a quarterback, you give me this player and 201 or, whatever it is. And then I go draft Dart. And then I'm like, I'm actually feeling pretty damn good right now.
What, the Tampa, the running back room just got a little shaken up there. How do you feel about that? The new RB room?
Yeah, it's a little disconcerting, but I think people are overthinking the Gainwell thing because they're comparing Gainwell and they're comparing Jalen Warren and Bucky Irving, and I think they're overthinking what Jalen Warren ever was. Like, I'm not saying that Bucky Irving is Bijan, but Bucky Irving is a high-end running back in the NFL. Jalen Warren was always like a third down back that had some decent running ability and that kind of thing. So then they look at it and they go, well, look at Gainwell last year. He outproduced Warren. He did this and that. He's going to go do the same thing in Tampa. And that's where I start pumping the brakes. I'm like, whoa, like, I like Gainwell. I like Irving. I think Irving's the one. I think Gainwell's the two. Obviously, they're not going to put, Irving out there 30 times a game. He's a smaller back. So Gainwell's going to see the field. And then I guess at this point, like, the only thing we do have to hope, because they re-signed Tucker, is that Tucker is not the goal line back again, because that would be ugly. If you really do have like a three-headed monster there, then that's where it's a little concerning. But Gainwell doesn't stop me from being a Bucky Irving fan. If anything, like, if people are like losing their minds about it, I will happily buy him.
Wow. All right. What do you think, Justin?
I think it's time for my bowl of cereal is what I think it is.
Cereal time? Well, this has been amazing, man. This is such a treat.
John, thank you for coming on, brother. Especially late night.
Thank you for having me. Thanks for reaching out. And this has been a blast, guys.
What do you do for the NFL draft? You have like anything going on?
So I went to the last two NFL drafts. I wanted to go this year.
Pittsburgh.
I wanted to go this year. My wife sold her business, and we have a lot of things that are up in the air and blah, blah, blah. It's boring, but I'm not going to make it this year is basically the long and short of it. But I my goal is to be at every Senior Bowl, Combine, NFL Draft, like all that stuff, like moving forward. So I'm hoping next year that I get the trifecta of Senior Bowl, Combine, NFL Draft. I haven't done it yet, but that's my goal for next year. So we'll see what happens.
That's awesome, man. Well, I mean, we do a nice draft party. We do a live show, the whole draft. If you not busy, you want to pop on for a pick or.
Yeah, of course.
For a pick or 2 or 3, I'll drop you the link. And man, this was fantastic. Give us your analysis, and we could shoot the shit. See how many fantasy guys we try to get fingers crossed for an entire like Superflex first round in the first round of the NFL draft. I don't know about this year, but I'm kind of wishing for this year. But
the only thing I will say is, so I did that a couple of years ago where I was on a draft pod, basically a live stream like the majority of the time, or like a couple hours or whatever. And I have a friend who's who worked for the NFL, has all kinds of NFL contacts and all that kind of stuff. So I get the picks about 10 minutes before, or like 8 minutes before everyone else. And they actually ended up being mad at me because I was like ruining every pick for him. Oh, yeah. I'm like the pick doesn't change because I tell you 8 minutes ahead of time, like, but they ended up being mad at me. So like I'll gladly jump on your live stream, but I just so you know, like I'll probably know the pick before you guys will.
Oh, don't look at your phone. How about that?
Well, no, because I want to know. People, like, it doesn't bother me, but it bothers other people. So I'm like, hey, like I won't tell you, but then I'm sitting there with a big old smirk on my face, like. I think you know who this is. It
takes us like a couple of picks to synchronize our TVs so that the other one doesn't. So somebody's not getting.
Well, I guess you'll have to pause me for about 10 minutes. Then.
There you go. Well, man, this was awesome. Appreciate you coming on, man. The Debbie Devotional. Check it out. Go meet Beth, the hot Dynasty Workshop. I don't know what you'd call her.
Something. Not a model. Don't call her a model. She doesn't like it.
Well, she could be a model. She's kind of cute, but check it out.
She could be, but don't call her a model.
Yeah, at Dynasty Coach A. Anything else, man? You got going on that I missed or we missed?
No, I mean the only other thing I would say is obviously we talk about all these players on the Debbie Devotional. I have all my ranks and stuff at dynastyworkshop.com. And also, I think it's behind the paywall, but so maybe this doesn't help as much. But with DLF, it's I'm also doing a full. I'm writing every article for the full like rookie series. So I already did the QBs. I did the first 2 running back articles covering the first part and the second part. Now I'm getting ready to do the wide receivers. In fact, now that I say that, I think I have to write that article by tomorrow. So I have to get to work. But yeah, so I'm doing the full, like the entire gambit of all these players. I'm covering every single one at DLF in an article series for them.
All right. Sounds good, man. Well, we'll wrap it up right now, and we'll see you next week. And let's go, baby. Let's go. It's draft time. Thanks for listening to the Dynasty Hot Sauce Pod.
1, 2, 3, 4.